I always used to feel like no matter what I did, my house would always be trashed. I always knew there were things I should be doing and habits I should start, but I could just never make those stick for more than like a week, sometimes a month. Even though I knew if I could make these stick, they would change my life, I just couldn't do it. But over the past 5 years that I've been on this minimalist journey, I have found a few simple lessons and hacks that have really made a big impact long-term into my life. And today I wanted to share some of those with you, so hopefully they can improve your life as well. Ride the waves. There was one point when we first started decluttering that we had an entire room filled 6 inches deep with clothes that we were going through and getting rid of. Most of them had come from thrift stores. It was just like a lifetime of crap that we had never gone through. And it literally took us days to just go through the clothes that I had and Meredith had and deciding what to keep and what to actually get rid of. And I think that's what a lot of people think about when they think about minimalism. They think about beautiful white walls and open counters and, not many clothes. Maybe somebody just wears all black like a weirdo. Or they think of the big declutters, the huge challenges, the different rules and things that people do, that going through all those clothes. And that is a part of things, and you will go through challenges and different cycles. But also, I think minimalism is much more of a long-term game and very, I don't know if cyclical is the right word. There's a lot of cycles that you go through during your minimalist journey. And once I realized that everything's not always gonna be perfect, there are different stages that you're gonna go through, and that's okay. It actually lowered the pressure a lot more for me and made it easier to stick to things. So that means that, yes, every couple months, I will either take a week or a month and I will do different challenges and I'll ride different waves. I'm excited about decluttering right now. And then I kind of lose that interest once I decluttered most of my clothes. And then I'm like, okay, well, right now I'm excited about improving my finances and simplifying them as much as possible. And I'll ride that wave. And then I'll kind of die down. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm on this self-improvement train. I'm gonna read a bunch of books and then I'll ride that wave. And it's okay to kind of go through those cycles and improve your life one area at a time and make big impact on that area. And then once you burn out, instead of saying oh, I burned out, I couldn't stick with this, I couldn't keep up this high level of stuff, realize that there's some middle ground where it's way better than it was before, but it's maybe not picture Instagram perfect life, and find that middle ground and then just dive into another area as you get excited. And then for me, chasing kind of those new things and that excitement has really kept me on this journey for a long time. And I use that in a lot of areas of my life where I know that I'm not always gonna be excited about stuff, but while I am excited about it, that's when I'm going to dive into it. I'm not gonna try to force myself. I'm gonna choose whatever's gonna be easiest at the time and dive into that. So maybe that's decluttering a room, maybe it's working on your scheduling time, maybe it's working on your finances, maybe it's working on your home, maybe it's going through your clothes or stopping buying things. Whatever you're most excited about now, it's okay to start there. You don't have to start the same way that everybody else does or the same journey. Everything's so different. Quiet wealth. Most of us are sold this idea of wealth, of what success looks like. Maybe it's a beautiful house or fancy cars or first class travel or a private jet or a Rolex. Shout out Moses.
What's up, people?
But I think minimalism really taught me the importance of quiet wealth, or maybe more like truer wealth, which is not in stuff. It's not buying things. It's not having more stuff in your life, which is most people's journey is you work more so that you can have more stuff, so you can show your status or make your life easier in some way. But I realized that most of the things I look back on in my life, most of the things I treasured most, the memories, none of that had to do with status. When we look back at our life, we're not gonna be like, oh, well, we rose 2 more ranks in the managerial status, or my company went from this size to this size, and that's I'm so proud of my life because of that. It's gonna be the memories that you made. Even looking back for ourselves, it's the time we spend with our kids. It's traveling on trips like this that don't really cost a lot of money. But even that, we still do invest more into trips and having more free time and doing more things experience-wise, because that's where we gain a lot of value. I'd rather not buy clothes for a year and take an extra trip or something like that, because I almost always am gonna look back at that and those memories and the time we got to spend together with much more fondness than I would having a slightly newer car or more clothes or whatever. So I really think that minimalism can be a great tool to lower your expenses a lot in almost every area of your life. And by doing that, you can free up more time. If your expenses go down 25%, You could technically work 25% less or take a job that pays 25% less, but you get 50% more free time. And so it's kind of like that idea of, instead of always chasing more higher level, I need a Lambo, I need all this stuff, it's kind of this middle ground of like, yes, I still want to, you know, do the best with the time that I've given and work and build things, but I'm also looking for this balance of not always chasing more stuff and more status and more money, because the things that are actually valuable are not pieces of paper that you could rip up and then have no value whatsoever or can be deflated. It's the experiences, it's the relationships, it's making impacts on people's lives. So that's what's actually valuable. By the way, if you're enjoying this and getting any value, it'd mean a ton to me if you could drop a like and subscribe. Joy killing. Minimalism and focusing on what is right for me and my family has really been a strong tool that helps me stay away from this comparison trap. And they say that comparison is the thief of joy, and I really believe that, because no matter what level I've gotten to since, you know, being a kid and having no money to growing over these past couple of years, and then you meet people who have jobs and then you're like, oh, okay, that's, you know, one level of wealth, and you meet people who own businesses and that's another level of wealth. No matter what level you get to, I think it's like human nature to always compare to the person above you to the next level, which in some point it's good to chase bettering yourself, but also comparison is the thief of joy. Constantly comparing myself to other people really was not great for me. And I think minimalism really helped me realize what was important, which it turned out wasn't all the other things that, you know, I thought it was. It wasn't being better, but realizing that it's okay to be different, to be weird. So what's important to me is time freedom and location freedom, which kind of an example right now is like we're at an Airbnb in Amish country, which is why this thing is absolutely beautiful right now. And I'm able to work from here. So that's location freedom and time freedom, where I can, you know, shoot a video about something I'm passionate about in a location that's really cool. And I could do that to provide for my family, and not in order to have a nicer car, nicer clothes, or status or whatever. It's a lifestyle. I've been doing intermittent fasting for the past 10 years. Kind of a lifestyle, I don't know if it's a good analogy. But much like intermittent fasting, you don't just fast once and now, you know, you're somebody who does IF. It's a continual thing that you keep going, and when you stop doing it, you're no longer doing it. And that's kind of the same thing with minimalism, where I feel like a lot of people like, okay, we got this big push, 30-day push, 60-day push, and now we're there. And then we like don't really do anything. But I think minimalism for me, I've realized, is this journey of like self-improvement. It's this journey of self-discovery even, where it's gonna be a constant thing. I've been doing this for 5 years and we still go through and declutter stuff. We still face the problems of consumerism because we see thousands of ads every single day, and it's easy to get caught up in that. And that happens to me, even though like I talk about it and I write stuff on it and make videos on it. It still happens. And I think that that's important to remember, is when you're on this minimalist journey, it's gonna be a long-term thing. You're constantly gonna have struggles with selfishness, with pride, with trying to buy things that make you feel more important. Or if you're like me, with like just being dirty and your house is constantly trashed, or you know, you move from having no kids to having kids, and now things are a lot messier quite often. And realizing that it's not some perfect linear thing. There's ups, there's downs. It changes. What it looks like when we were single looks very different. What it looks like when we're married looks very different. What it looks like, you know, when we have 1 kid versus 2 kids and whatever. It's not a very linear thing. It is a journey, it's a challenge. And I even think about this with reading, where it's like you can just read a few books and then be done, but there's always more knowledge and more stuff to learn out there, and you never know what one thing will change your life. And then I just recently reread like the summary of this book called The 12-Week Year. I reread the summary on an app called Shortform, one of my favorite book summary apps, and also actually the sponsor of this video. But just because I read that book once doesn't mean that I know everything in it forever. Like I forget stuff, I read a lot, I listen, you know, I consume a lot of stuff. And so just like knowledge, minimalism is this journey of constantly learning stuff and reminding yourself of stuff and overcoming the same struggles over and over until you can get them to stick. And actually that's why I love Shortform, and if you haven't checked them out, you really should. Let me explain why. They do like amazing 1-page summaries of pretty much every great book that you can think of in so many different genres, from like business, career and success, entrepreneurship, lifestyle, money and finance. And like often I don't have time to go back and reread an entire book, but I want to get the ideas because I remember how much it helped me. So I can go through and I can get these amazing summaries that it's pretty much like a really smart friend explaining to me the concepts of this book. And I've even used some of the outlines for this to help me make videos because they're that high quality. And right now, if you check them out with my link down in the description, you can get a free trial with unlimited access and 20% off an annual subscription. And something that I love about short form is that I can listen to it. So I listen to it sometimes when I'm going for walks or I'm in the car. I can just listen to the summary of a book and get all the main ideas, or I can actually read it when I do have time to sit down. And they just make it so easy to digest these ideas to help me continue to grow as a person and learn something, because you never know what one thing can completely change your life. And that's why I read so many books and listen to so many summaries, is because I'm just looking for that one thing that can change my life, like 1 or 2 degrees. But over the course of 5 years, that's like a completely different version of myself. And that's what I love about minimalism, and that's what I love about short form. So if you want to check them out, there's a link down in the description. Absolutely love them. Thanks for sponsoring me, and we'll carry on. Quality over quantity in everything. Before I got into minimalism, I was always kind of chasing the cheapest thing or the quickest thing. And I never really thought about having quality stuff in my life. And it's not just about stuff, it's also about other areas of your life, which we'll talk about in a second. But like, if you just look at stuff, for example, I always used to have the absolute cheapest t-shirts I could possibly find. It was like thrift stores and like 75% off at TJ Maxx. And that's how I ended up with a closet full of crap that I never actually wore. And I had like 6 shirts that I wore constantly because they're the only ones that actually fit me, but I always had all this other junk. And when I started getting into minimalism, I tried living like Matt D'Avella for a week. I decluttered that closet and was stripping down to just what was essential, that 20% of things that I love to wear, those 6 shirts really. I realized that less but better is a real thing. Because when I can blindly reach in and grab a shirt that fits really well, that's one less decision I have to make every single day for the rest of my life. I no longer have to shop. I no longer spend hours walking through stores, looking through sale racks. I don't think about any of that. I just got a few things that are high quality that I can wear for a really long time. And that's just making one decision that makes 1,000 decisions for you. Like right now, I'm wearing these Legends shirts, really high quality, not a sponsor, but there is an affiliate link. But they are definitely more expensive than what I was wearing before, but I would never actually wear the stuff that I bought before. I just got it because it was cheap, not because it actually fit good or I liked the way that it felt. It was just based on price. But the same thing applies to everything. I don't just read a book to speed read my way through it now. I'm looking through and making notes and trying to find individual lessons from that thing. So maybe instead of reading a chapter, I just read 2 pages, but if I actually get something and implement something off of those pages, now I'm making progress. Even with my channel, I actually moved from 3 videos a week down to 1 video a week, but that 1 video was higher quality, and that's when I saw a large, spike in my channel, and I also got a lot more freedom in my life. So not only did the videos do better by doing less of them that were just higher quality, I gained back more free time in my life, I gained more mental space, I made more money, all from doing less but better, and it literally applies to almost everything that I've tried to apply it to. It works so well. Simplicity over everything. I actually learned this one the one time I talked to Matt D'Avella, which shout out to him, I did really appreciate. We were talking about his business and my business and how he kind of let everybody go who was working for him and just really went down to, back to basics, to doing what he enjoyed doing instead of managing things. And I think that's something that a lot of us can learn. We always look at growth or, doing things just for the sake of doing them. And I've kind of done this as well, where I was trying to do too many things and I was hiring stuff out, and then I ended up becoming a manager. And you stop, enjoying your work as much or whatever you're doing when you just say yes to too many things. And so even if it means making less money, making slower progress, if it could protect freedom, then that is totally worth it. Like I've even changed stuff, like even with other businesses or personal stuff, I've taken a pretty good loss and changed things just in order to maintain freedom and simplicity. Because as you say yes to a bunch of things, or you start to grow, your business too much, whether it's personal or professional, as you have more and more things going on, or more and more people depending on you, your like monthly weight on your shoulders kind of increases. And I hate like being tied down to stuff or having, people relying on me. So I've really tried to scale back a lot and just realize that I don't need to be the biggest or the best, or even with my house, it doesn't always have to be perfect, but I just want to have a good medium baseline that's easy to maintain, whether it's habits or whatever it is, that if I can keep it at this medium range, which I know that I can do for a really long time, and it's not super stressful to stay in that range, then I'm okay with that. So yes, my house isn't always, perfectly clean, but it's always pretty clean. And I think that's a good balance that I can maintain for a really long time. And yes, I could go, and hire more people and grow my business more and post 3 videos a week. But I'm pretty comfortable with 1 video a week, and I'm happy doing that. It gives me a lot of freedom. And yes, I can go back to reading a book a week, which I did for almost a year. But, a book a month right now is pretty solid. I'm still learning stuff, and I have a lot more free time, but I'm still growing. So finding that balance is, I think, something that is really hard to do for a certain subset of people who like to take everything to extremes. But realizing in, again, every area of your life, it's okay to find like a middle ground that works, because you're not trying to do things, really quick, really crazy. You're just trying to make long-term lifestyle changes that will help your life for a really long time. Live by design, not by default. I would say if there's one big takeaway from this journey that I've been on, it's really to do that quote, to design your life and not just take what life gives you. If I had just lived by default, my default is trash. It was to buy stuff, to be a consumer, because that's what I was programmed to do by all these companies spending billions of dollars trying to get us to buy stuff we don't need. Don't get me wrong, there are amazing products that I love. Like I talked about, it's good to have clothes that actually fit you. It's good to have, short form and actually be able to learn stuff. But what we don't need is ads constantly telling us that, like, buy this new car and your friends will love you. You're not successful unless you're driving a Lambo and like all this type of stuff. Like, we don't need that. And that's my default, is to constantly, chase upgrades, to buy the newest thing. That's what I naturally want to do. And like, if I just stayed with what I naturally had, I would be working as an office cleaner right now, because that's what I grew up doing. From the age of 11, I've been cleaning office buildings at night, and that's what life handed me. I actually went to this conference because I got my real estate license when I was 18, because I was just Googling highest paying jobs without a degree that you can, work. And I found real estate agent, and I went to this conference for real estate agent, and they had this quote, live a life by design, not by default. And I realized that most of the things I was doing in my life, most of the decisions that I made, it was because of external influences, and I was not actually taking control over my life. I was just doing whatever life handed me. And if I'd continued to go down that route, I would still be cleaning office buildings, or maybe being a real estate agent, which I absolutely hated because I hate sales. I would still be buying stuff and not having any money like I did. I would probably be unhealthy. I would eat junk food because naturally I want to eat junk food, sit on the couch and play video games. That's what I naturally want to do. But I've also learned that if I do what I naturally want to do, I will be a miserable, depressed, like borderline need doctors type of situation. But instead, I've really been focusing on designing a life that I don't want and escape from. If that means like giving up nights and weekends to build, this YouTube channel for years before I ever made a profit, that's because I wanted something that was mine, that I could take, that I actually chose to do, and not just because that's the job that I got offered. With everything in your life, there's so much that just comes into our lives that's just there because it's there. Whether it's the habits, the time you wake up, like everything about your life, is this by design in order to make you a better version of yourself, a happier version of yourself, more fulfilled, able to help people, able to make progress version of yourself? Or is this just because that's what you've always done? Because if you're just doing things because that's the way that everybody else does them, that's the way you've been taught to do them, we're probably wrong about almost everything that we do. If you look at the average person in America, they're depressed, they're unhealthy, they hate their job. And if that's you, maybe it's because you haven't taken some extreme discomfort now, some delayed gratification now, in order to feel great later. You haven't done the diet and exercise in order to feel amazing and look amazing, and done that with every area of your life. I don't know, I'm passionate about this stuff. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.